Hey everybody, NecroVMX here, and I wanted to take the time today to do an update video, which is something that I haven't done or have had to do in quite a while, which is a good thing. Normally I just like to come on and do my videos and, try to do it in a pretty regular fashion and just kind of go on. But, if I don't do a video one day or even if I mention it on Facebook, like the reasons why, like I get people like, what's going on, So, lately things have been pretty spotty for upload schedules. I've missed a few days here and there, and, things have been late on occasion. And I just wanted to kind of catch you guys up. For those of you who are unaware, a lot of you are aware of what's going on and what's happened, and some of you are not. So I just wanted to kind of catch you guys up and just, talk about the future. Because there are going to be some changes to the channel, nothing monumental, minor tweaks here and there. I've always done minor tweaks, but now that I have a pretty large following, I don't want to throw, when you have 500 subscribers, you could just start doing tweaks, and it's like not a big deal, when you have 16,000, it's more like you gotta announce it ahead of time or people get freaked out, and I don't know, it just seems that way to me. It's weird, but that's the way you think it wouldn't matter, but it kind of does. So I wanted to let you guys know that a lot of the delays and things that have been happening in the past few months are happening for a couple of different reasons. One is family stuff. My sister Kristen, recently, just 3 days ago, had her second child, so I'm a nephew twice over. You can actually see a picture of both of my nephews if you go on the Facebook page. I posted that up a few days ago. So that's sort of, family obligations kind of come before YouTube obligations. Work obligations come above everything too. Well, not above family, but above YouTube. And at Kazareth Studio, things have been very hectic and busy, in a good way. We're wrapping up episode 2. We're also looking to the future, and we have a lot more than just, episode 3 on the docket. So there's a lot of planning and hiring and meetings and all sorts of different things. And plus I have 2 jobs, so I'm a busy person. So I just want to let you guys know about that. And the other day we kind of had just a really, not at Kazar Studios, but with my family, going back to that for a moment, just a day of sort of rolling disasters, which I'll tell you about in just a moment. But I also wanted to address, a bunch of things. So I'm going to address what happened the other day, which was, I'm still feeling the effects of that. And also, just the format of the channel is going to be shifting slightly and stuff like that. So let's talk about what happened the other day. So a couple of days ago, like I said, my sister had the baby. Now, he came a little early. He was supposed to come on, I think, March 10th. And he came on February 20th. So it's almost 3 weeks early. Nobody was expecting it to happen that soon. So it kind of threw everything into disarray and chaos. So then it was there was also, a whole snow and ice thing going on. And oh my God, I got to tell you, winter is the worst month. If winter is your favorite month, please punch yourself in the genitals. Well, anyway, oh God, it hurts to laugh. Oh, yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. So, they were ready to send my sister and the baby, who's a baby boy named Nathan, by the way, ready to send them home actually the next day. Which is amazing to me because, you figure my sister would want to kind of rest and let the nurses do everything for her and kind of just relax with the baby for, maybe 2 or 3 days, but she was ready to go home. Well, she's got the other kid, Bobby. So anyway, kind of have to explain the living situation. We all live in the same town, pretty much. My parents, live in one place, and then I live on my own, kind of a little bit further away, but still in the same town. And then my sister and her husband and her kids actually live with my grandmother, who is close, very close to my parents. So I just want, and they're up in the, well, we're all like in the country, you know, they're up in the woods. I'm down in the woods, so to speak. I live in trees, they live in trees, except they're high on a mountain and I'm on flat area here. So, it's a bit of a trek, you know, it's only like a 10-minute drive to get to, you know, like either my parents or my grandma's house where, my sister and her husband and her kids live. But, it's all uphill, you know. And in the winter, that can be a bit of a bitch. And, you know, the one thing about that is in the winter, you know, everything's ice and snow. Like I said, it can be a bit of a bitch. But the worst thing about it is that everybody up there has these really steep driveways that go up at like a 20 or 30 degree angle. And if you don't have like a 4-wheel drive, or some really good like snow tires or something, you're gonna get stuck. And that's the situation that happens a lot with my car, because I don't have a 4-wheel drive or anything like that. I drive like a fucking Kia. So anyway, I went over to my parents' house, partly because I needed to do laundry there, because you know, I live in a very small place and I don't have a washing machine or anything like that. There's actually a laundromat very close to me, but I go to my parents' house to do laundry for 2 reasons. One is that it's free, and 2 is that they, you know, they like it when I visit them. So, you know, get to spend a few hours over there. So anyway, I was over there and we were watching a movie. We're waiting for my sister's going to come home, you know, this night, you know, and older Bobby, big Bobby, that's my brother-in-law, her husband, was going to pick her up, and she was out in I don't want to mention the city. I don't want to locate myself too much here, but she was off like a good hour and a half away in the best of conditions. So we're sitting there and we're watching Netflix and eating popcorn and just having a good time, me and my parents. And then you know, my sister calls. She's a bit worried. Her husband hasn't showed up yet. And we're like, well, look, it's dark out. It's a Friday night. There's probably a lot of traffic. It's foggy. The roads might be bad. He might, you know, and she's like, well, he's not answering his phone. Well, he could be in a dead area. Battery could be, you know, low or whatever, you know. So, okay, tell you what happened. My brother-in-law, on the way to pick up his wife, that's my sister, and his newborn son, my nephew Nathan, and bring them home, he got into a car accident. So, and I don't mean like a fender bender. I mean a pretty major wreck here. The car might be totaled. He hit either like a patch of black ice or a patch of slush or something. Spun out of control, hit a pole, a guardrail, all this shit. So he wound up, you know, in an ambulance, and they wound up taking him to the hospital. He wound up being in the same hospital that my sister was at. So then, you know, imagine my sister's dilemma. She's sitting there, recently having given birth, really itching to go home and see her other son, her 3-year-old, who thankfully was not in the car. He was home with my grandmother at the time. And then a bunch of nurses and police officers walk into the room. Now, you can only imagine what she was thinking, you know. And they told her that, you know, hey, your husband's been into a car accident. He's down in the emergency room. So he was hurt. His back was all screwed up, and, you know, everything came back normal, like CAT scans and all that, but he was injured, just not, you know, severely so. And he wound up being admitted to the hospital for a little while, I think like just overnight. And he came home the next day. So then my parents, you know, get this news, and I'm sitting there, we're watching a movie. It was like, fuck that, it stopped halfway through, so I gotta go look up how Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol ended. Not that it was that important, I just thought I'd throw that out there, because I was enjoying it. But anyway, well, I have Netflix, I could just pop on and watch the rest of it. So then they're like, they have to, like, you know, take their car and go to like Walmart or something and pick up another baby seat, because first of all, his car got towed and the baby seat was in it, and even if they were able to get at it, you can't, once a infant car seat has been in a wreck of any sort, any kind of accident, you can't, you're legally, you're not allowed to use it until the police inspect it and make sure that it's, you know, still going to work properly. So, this is getting long. I meant for this to be kind of brief, but I'm just going to plow on here because there's a lot to talk about, and it relates to what happened with me. So, then, like I said, everybody's got those like super steep driveways, and in the past couple of weeks we've had so much snow, like feet of snow, like so, and it's all piled up, and there's just the driveway was like plowed out, and there wasn't enough room for me to turn my car around or get out of the way, so I had to like leave so they can get out of there. Problem is, the driveway was pretty much clear. It was a little wet from runoff. Because during the day it got warm, some of the snow and ice started melting and ran onto the driveway, and then the sun goes down, it gets cold, it fucking freezes up, you got a black ice situation, so now I'm having a hard time getting up the driveway. So I'm trying to get up the driveway, and then there's my dad, who could be very annoying at times, is like, let me try, you know, and I'm like, alright, whatever. And then he says to go grab the shovel, because he gets stuck on like a patch of ice, so I go running down the driveway, I fucking slip and fall, so I'm not really running. I don't want to give you the impression that I'm running, but I was kind of like walking briskly, and I was trying to be careful, but, you know, there was a whole panic going on, and I slipped, fell on my ass, snapped my head back onto the asphalt there. That, I gotta tell you, that hurt. My glasses went flying off. I was immediately stunned for a few seconds, and then I was like, just trying to get up. Just the thought of, I gotta get the fuck out of here, you know? So, and I'm like holding the back of my head, like, ah! And I'm cursing, and, you know, and, you know, luckily I wasn't concussed or bleeding or anything, but I gotta tell you that from the motion of my head going back like that, and hitting the ground, and, you know, I had a little bit of a whiplash going on, and, earlier today, I was just one ball of just pain, you know. I feel like a giant bruise. So, like, honestly, the thought of sitting here and, like, doing fucking videos is just kind of almost, like, painful to me. I want to recover. So, I had already done Civilization Saturday, and I meant to upload that on Saturday, but then I had a bit of a technical problem. Now, I don't want to get into the technicalities of it too much, but it had to do with when I was trying to set up the Final Fantasy LP, and I was initially trying to do it with Hypercam, and then I switched to Fraps, but I had to change some settings to make Fraps work right, and then it kind of screwed up Hypercam a little bit. So the hour-long recording that I have for Civilization Saturday only has the game audio. It doesn't have my commentary, which I could just record new commentary and put it on there, but I'm not feeling up to it right now. Still kind of achy. I'm not in as much pain as I was. And it's not like it just ended then, because like I said, I still had to go over the next day, and because the baby came home the next day, and it, you know, and then I had to work, you know, because that was my weekend, and then I had to work. The weekend was over, and then I had to work, and I was still doing Kazara Studio stuff, and I was still drawing and managing and, you know, running meetings and whatnot. So it was a hell of a last couple of days, and I really haven't had the time to really just relax. So, anyway, I also wanted to talk about, you know, just the channel in general, and mostly about, like, request videos. Oh, yeah, I'm shifting here. It still kind of hurts. And I gotta work tonight, too. Isn't that pleasant? So, anyway, about the request videos and everything, oh, man. It's just such a pain in the ass to talk about this, but I guess I kind of got to. Request videos, I think, personally, the requests themselves have been kind of lame lately, and it's like people are just randomly picking things just because they want to see a video, and possibly have me, like, say their name or whatever, and honestly, it's like there's no thought at all put into, is this going to be a good video or not, and they just pick random games, and it's just getting really weird and really kind of tired. And I've been thinking of kind of like scaling that back a little bit and doing it a little differently. And I haven't made my decision, you know, That'll never go away completely, by the way. I'm not going to say I'm not taking requests anymore or whatever, but I'm thinking of restructuring it and doing it differently because, like, you know, I have these conversations with people, and I just want to give you one example of, like, somebody can, like, first of all, nobody follows any of the guidelines, and it's like they've been the same for a long time, and I'll get, like, people requesting things for, like, PlayStation 3, and it's like, dude, first off, I don't even have a PS3, and secondly, you know, why can't you just read the guidelines? You know, I don't take requests for that system. They don't care, you know, and it just kind of gets old, and then, you know, if it doesn't get done, like, immediately, people get pissy about it because, I don't know, I guess they feel that they're owed something. I don't know. But, and then, you know, like I said, the quality of the requests, you know, like, and then and when I question people on this, I'm like, why would you request like that? And they'll go, oh, well, you've done every other game. And it's like, no, I haven't. You just don't know anything about anything, you know? But alright, I'm getting a little ranty and I don't want to, but, basically, here's an example, is that somebody will request a video, for a game, and I'll be like, well, I've already done that. And then they'll say, well, what about this one? And I'll say, well, I've done that as well, you know. And then what about this one? And it's like, and then now I'm starting to get a little irritated because it's like this rapid fire progression. I'll say, well, I've already done that. Could you please use the search feature before you ask, you know? And they'll say, all right, I searched for this one and you didn't do it. And it's like, yeah, I did, you know. And they're like, well, where's the video? And it's like, well, fucking search for it. Why do I mean, like, people are so nasty and it's getting old. But, and I've kind of I kind of ask for it, I guess, in a sense, because I've put myself in a position where, because I didn't originally take requests, I took suggestions, but I originally just did whatever random game that I would pick. And that was a lot more fun. And that's kind of what I'm thinking of going back to, just taking suggestions. But by putting it where I have, like, a request list, and I'm, like, you know, obligated to do it or whatever, it kind of puts people in a position where they feel they have power over the channel and that they're controlling things. And that's not necessarily in and of itself a terrible thing, but the attitude that comes from it, that I have to do whatever they say and they get nasty about it, that's not so fun. So that's like one aspect of it. And then another aspect of it is that after like asking like 5 games in a row, and I've done it, and then they start to get annoyed because they're really trying to come up with a request, and it's like, well, look, you just thought of 5 games that you'd like to see me do a video of, and I've told you I've already done them. Don't you think that you would say to yourself, wow, I have 5 videos to watch. That's awesome. I don't even have to wait. They're already done. You know? It's kind of like if you went to a restaurant and they had just finished cooking the exact thing that you wanted for somebody else, but that person, like, left. It's already there for you. And are you going to really sit there and say, oh, but I don't get the experience of, like, ordering my food and waiting? You know, so I don't know. Maybe that's not the best example, but that's kind of like the direction that I'm trying to steer your mind in. So, you know, fuck it, man. I don't know. I gotta think about it. I have a couple of ideas in my head about how I'm going to go about this, but it's been kind of rough. People, they're either requesting games that just are not good enough or bad enough to make decent videos, or they keep requesting the same shit that I've done, and they don't realize that there's hundreds and hundreds of games that I haven't done, you know? They don't know them, you know? And then, you know, like I said, and then the comments I get, it's just like, I had this game. And like, oh. Thank you for telling me that, I guess. I don't know. So, I kind of, in a sense, want to go back to my roots on the random videos. And I want to do more LPs and stuff like that, because that's where really the fun of it is. But I just wanted to point that out, you know. If you come to me with a request, and I've already done it, that, you know, like, people feel like they have to get a request in, and they get, like, kind of, like, annoyed. You know, they're like, oh, well, I can't come up with anything. And it's like, well, you don't have to. there's something like 4,000 videos on the channel. There's a lot to watch, you know what I mean? What you're doing is, instead of like nobody's watched all the videos, you know, like anybody that claims to, I really don't believe them, you know? I haven't even watched all the videos, you know? So, I mean, what I'm trying to get at is that if you're looking for content, it's there, you know? And why is it preferable to go through this whole thing where you ask for it and then like a couple of months later, I do it. So there's that. Also, I talked about this on Facebook and I got a pretty interesting response to this as well. This next thing. It had to do with the VMX show. By the way, there's not going to be an episode this week. I'm just not feeling up to doing it. I'm trying to rest a little bit. Tomorrow, I would like to get back to doing the Final Fantasy feature if, you know, I'm feeling better. But if I'm not feeling better physically, I'm not going to do it. So, you guys, the Comic-Thon thing will continue no matter what, because those videos were all done a while ago. So I'm just uploading them, and that doesn't take a whole lot. But you're not going to really see anything, possibly tomorrow, but until I'm feeling better, I'm kind of taking things slow, because that fall really rattled my whole body, you know, and I'm just like recovering from that. And I remember saying to myself, I'm going to feel this tomorrow, and you know, because you get stunned and you don't really feel the pain, and, you know, you feel the acute pain, but you don't feel the aches that you're going to get until the next day, and then it sticks around for a while, you know. And then, of course, when you're somebody who works 60 to 80 hours a week, you're not getting better quickly. You know, you're straining yourself. So I want to point that out. But anyway, the next thing I did mention this on Facebook about the VMX show. I had originally intended that the last season that I did, the last complete, I think it was season 7, was going to be probably the last one. And it's true that I did come up with this whole idea that I would do the VMX show, and then I would do Gamers Encyclopedia, and then I would do 10 Facts, and then I would loop right around and do Gamers VMX show, and then do that like that. And that also is good because it gives me a lot of time to work on the more intensive things that take a lot of research, like Gamers Encyclopedia. But actually doing the VMX show is so tiresome and tedious to me that I didn't want to come back and do another season. And the only reason I did it is because there were not a lot of people, but a good enough amount of people that were telling me that they were super, super excited for it. And really, I was talking with somebody else about this, and they were kind of surprised that I felt this way about VMX show, and that it's gotten kind of old, and that I'm tired of doing it. And I said, well, did you hear the intro in season 8? Where I said, this crap lasted for 8 seasons? I was only half joking there, you know? I mean, that's my old man, you know, like, whole joke there. But every time I got to sit down and record another episode, I'm like, oh, God, this again? And the only part that's fun is, like, dealing with the guests. But what's not fun is all the scheduling involved and telling them simple things like, if you want to be on the show, contact me on Skype. And then, of course, they'll contact me anyway but Skype. Or they'll ask me, what's your Skype name? And even though I've said it a million times that it's NecroVMX, it's the same as the YouTube channel. But then they'll ask anyway. And then I'll say, you know, contact me on Skype to schedule a time, you know. And then they'll be like, some person will add me on Skype, and I'll add them back. And they're like, okay, can we record right now? And it's like, whoa, hold on. First off, I don't even know who you are. Secondly, I don't know what you want to talk about. And thirdly, I'm fucking busy. You gotta schedule a time. So, and then, you know, and then part of this is on me, cause then it's like, and then shit comes up and I'm not able to do it. Like there'll be something with Kazareth, or there'll be something with the family, or there'll be something, you know, going on in my personal life, and I'll just be, or maybe I just don't feel like doing it, and it's like, oh, I gotta do this fucking interview, you know. So, I'm not canceling the show. I'm going to restructure it. It's going to be completely different when it comes back for season 9. It's going to have a co-host, and it's going to be a permanent co-host, and it's going to have a completely different format. It's going to be really cool, and it's something that I kind of stumbled upon doing another video where I don't want to give too much away here, so maybe I shouldn't even talk about this, but There was something that happened in one of my videos that people really liked a lot, and people were saying we want to see more of that, and I feel that the natural evolution of that would be to restructure the VMX show. So, I've been talking for nearly a half hour here, and I think I've covered everything. I've covered, the reasons there haven't been that many videos on time and everything. I've covered the baby and that whole situation, him coming early, because I thought I had time. I thought I had, it was going to be after the second week of March. Instead, it was, a couple of days ago. I covered VMX show. I covered why I'm in pain right now. It's not too bad right now, but when I move, it hurts. And I've covered how busy I am and everything, and I've covered restructuring the channel. Not restructuring the channel, restructuring the VMX show. The channel kind of maybe just tweaking, going back to roots a little bit. So we'll see how that happens. I'll definitely make an announcement sometime in the near future about the request videos and how that's going to work. But more than likely, you're going to see much more features. You're going to see much more things like LPs and movie reviews and other kinds of features like that. And as for like I may do something like Random Games Friday, where instead of doing, 2 videos on 2 different days, like 2 videos one day, Tuesday, and then 2 videos on Thursday, I may do like all 4 videos in one day, and they may be my choice, but I will be open to suggestions and things like that. And the great thing about that is that I may revisit some of the games that I played in the past. Actually, one feature that I've always kind of wanted to do was go back and find the first 20 games that I did on the channel, not counting features. I can remember the first few. I remember Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Bill and Ted and Panic Restaurant and Xenomorph, and just take the first 20 or so and sort of look at them a couple of years later, just do the same thing, a commentary video, but with a new perspective and new technology involved in recording and things like that. I think I might make announcements in the future, but I just wanted to give you guys sort of a catch up. And I'm sorry that this video went on for so long. I thought it was going to go on for maybe 10-15 minutes, but it's been nearly a half hour. Sorry if I've wasted your time and you're now addicted to crack. But, oh god, it hurts to laugh. Yeah, that's going to be it. I'll see you guys real soon. Hopefully tomorrow. The Comic-Con 2 thing is unaffected by this. So, VMX out.